Welcome to our podcast, What No Mom Told You, where the rarely spoken truths finally get loud.
I'm Megan Nelson.
And I'm Pauline Walfish. And this is a therapist-led podcast where we talk about the things no one warned you about, the truths that are often kept quiet.
We're naming the messy parts of life: motherhood, fertility, loss, grief, and joy, and everything in between, without judgment.
Because the rarely spoken truths need to be said out loud, and because no one should feel alone.
Welcome to What No Mom Told You.
Hello and welcome back. I'm Pauline Walfish, and I'm excited to be here with you today, joined by my co-host, Megan Nelson.
Everyone, today is our second round of Pauline Between Two Megans, so I think we're going to make this a regular thing. Maybe we only have Megan guests on. But today our guest is Megan Kiefer. She is the founder of Take Two Media Initiative and Take Two Film Academy. Megan is an entrepreneur and an educator dedicated to transforming education and the world through media literacy and responsible content creation. So welcome.
Thank you for having me. This is so fun. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for being here. Can you describe, first to start off, can you describe what Take Two Media Initiative is?
So I started, I guess maybe I'll give you like a 2-minute how it all kind of came to be. So I started Take Two Film Academy 16 years ago. And this was before YouTube, before anyone could be a content creator. Like, we were really teaching the craft of filmmaking. And over the course of the last 16 years, obviously the technology's changed and grown, and pretty much everyone right now is a content creator or media creator. We've really kind of taken the craft of filmmaking, which we still really, that is the bedrock of our work, but we've really added a whole other layer to it around like, what is media literacy? How do we consume media responsibly? How do we create media responsibly, knowing the power of this medium? And, really trying to ingratiate this into students' lives from as early as like 2 years old through high school, college, and beyond. And, it's been an interesting experience to watch the evolution of media over the last 16 years, like living and working and breathing in this space, especially when it comes to young people.
Yeah, we're totally past the phase where like we're going to eliminate it or we're going to not have it included in our lives. Like
Exactly.
that boat has left.
Yes, that ship has sailed, and we're in a new world, and this generation of young people are growing up in a very different environment than what we grew up in, and we have to sort of recognize that, understand that, and prepare them a little bit more than we have in the past when it comes to this material and this subject. So the subject is rich, it's fascinating, it's interesting.
Evolving constantly all the day.
Constantly. I'm always finding insights for myself in my own consumption and creation of media. And I have 2 young girls. I have a 2-year-old and a 6-year-old. And sharing what I'm learning with them, even though they are young, they now know what a prefrontal cortex is. And my 2-year-old, she's like, "Mommy, I'm the boss." I'm like, no. You are not the boss until your prefrontal cortex is developed, my dear. She's like, "Okay." And in the bath last night, she was like, I don't have my prefrontal cortex yet. I'm like, "No, you don't." I was like, "You know why I know you don't? Because you just hit your sister for no reason."
That's so funny.
So it's like, you can talk about complicated, abstract concepts that surround our media and how it's being made and how it's being produced and how it's being used to capture as much of our attention as possible. You can start talking about this as early as the age of 2. That's been an exciting new journey for me as a parent, learning how to navigate it as well. So I hope that gives you a good answer. I don't know if I veered too far off into the world.
Absolutely.
No, my kids are a little bit older than yours, but they at some point were 2 and 6, and technology was part of their lives even then. And I remember trying to figure out like how to balance how much is too much, and if they were going to use it, what was going to be more educational. And I still remember days where I'm like, wow, like my son is really learning a lot from YouTube videos, and like, maybe this isn't so bad. And of course, some years have evolved since then. And and there are still some things that I'm like, yeah, you know what a cholecystectomy is. Like, great.
I know. It's really interesting.
So we're both therapists, and Pauline and I, and something that I've heard 3 times this week is our parents coming in and saying, I'm really scared. Like, even with young children, 1 and 3, they're like, I don't know. One of them was like, what do I do about social media? And they have really little
Yeah.
kids.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, I know some things. Okay, here's a book to read. What are your values? How do you clarify your values around it? But also, I totally understand. We don't know where it's going and what we can do to really help protect them a little bit.
Yeah, it's such a great question. Social media, gaming, online forums, YouTube, like these are all questions and media platforms that are highly addictive. There's a great there's a lot of research around just dopamine and the effects that that can have on a young person's brain as they're developing. Every single form of media and technology as a possible entry, like it's a drug. You have to look at it like that, because there is they're so sophisticated from the development standpoint of our the media companies and the technology companies. The design of it is to keep your attention for as long as possible. So in order to do that, like the science of attention is dopamine, cortisol, oxytocin, right? So, when you explain this to a young person, like that feel good feeling you have when you're playing a video game and you're winning there, right? That is dopamine. It's saying, oh, this is fun. I want more of this. Right. Or when you're scrolling, it's like they design the scroll to, I think you probably heard this before. They design it to be
The slot
the
machine.
slot machines. And even when you're getting your emails, you have to pull down. So it's like that is like you're like, what am I going to get? What am I going to get? Am I going to get a notification? Someone going to like something? So the programming that's taking place and that notification is constantly bringing our attention in to focus, right? It's
Mhm.
almost like there's this great book by Chris Hayes called The Siren's Call, and he equates like what they're doing to if you were at a restaurant and a waiter dropped a bunch of plates and they fell on the floor, everyone in the restaurant would turn and look, right? And your attention would immediately stop from what you were doing to that. Right? That's what they're doing all the time with TikTok, with social media, with games, with emails, with Twitter, anything. It's like it's the game of getting your attention. So that's highly
Not just
addictive.
getting your attention, but like keeping it and moving it
Keeping it,
fast. Like
keeping it all
I
the
know
time.
the other day I was my son sent me something and I was watching it and it was too slow. And
Yeah.
I like put it on 2 speed and he came in, he was like, "Are you really watching that at 2 speed?" I'm like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
because my brain is like
100%.
wanting to get
Go.
to me fast. Like
Exactly.
I
And
want to
and
move
we're in a
on.
unique position because we've sort of, and this is what I tell my students all the time. I'm like, you guys are actually better. You have a higher ability to detach yourself. You're not as addicted yet, versus our generation who we've had a slow burn of the last 20 years as this stuff has become more and more sophisticated. And we didn't necessarily know that it was
Like the
becoming
frog in the boiling water.
like
Like
the
we
frog in the boiling water, exactly. So, we are almost in a worse position because it sort of happened in this gradual way where it never felt that bad. And now we're sort of all waking up to like, okay, this, maybe I am addicted to my emails. Maybe I am addicted to, who knows what your poison is. Like, everyone's got something different. So being conscious of that, especially with my 2-year-old, right? If I give her cocoa melon and I take a cocoa melon away, the meltdown, right? Or anything, sometimes my older daughter will play a game. And one thing we tend to work on a lot in our house is being able to say goodbye to technology, right? Mommy being able to come over and saying, okay, we're done. And not, and then I've explained to them, if you are having a meltdown, and you can tell this to anybody, if you're having a meltdown, or even if I say to my husband, if you're having a meltdown when I ask you to put your phone away at dinner, what is that? That's telling us all something. That's telling us that maybe this thing isn't so good for you, right? Because it's not making you feel good when you don't have it. So that's a really strong indication that there's an issue, right? And we just say, if we're addicted to something, we can't have it. We have to be able to say goodbye to tech.
So I think that that's one of the places where it always got tricky for me as a parent, right? Because there is so much socialization built into these platforms. Like
Yeah,
it is how they talk to each other, it is
yeah,
how they hang out. Like
I
they're
know.
not going outside and playing in the street. They're like logging into a gaming room. So when you take away the
Mm.
technology, you're taking away their social life,
Yeah.
right? And that was always the hardest thing because that was really isolating and kind of compare it to food addiction. Like you can't not eat.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's tricky as your kids get older, right? Because in the beginning, you have a lot of agency. You're the one setting the rules and the boundaries, and you really are hoping that, early, if you do this early enough on, you can create really nice habits as they move forward. It does take a bit of a revolutionary approach, right? So if every kid in the class is, well, so and so's got an iPhone and so on the gaming apps, and that's my friend, and I want to spend time with them. It does take a revolutionary act to say, well, that's not our value as a family. It does take saying, oh, we want you outside playing. We don't want you playing. If you're welcome to invite your friend over. And guess what? You guys can do a game. You guys can go outside. We'll take you outside. We'll go to the playground. You can bring the basketball. It is a revolutionary act to not fall into the, everyone's doing it thing. One of my favorite parent researchers, she was talking about, as young people are developing their prefrontal cortex, and the science, they did all these, like, science studies on the brain, and young people, what they discovered, their brains are not mini adult brains. Their brains they need to be with an adult because they need that scaffolding, they need that boundary, they need those that parameters to be set. So as parents, it is our job to be that for them until they can take on the reins themselves. And you want to be in showing them, healthy habits as soon as you're able. And I think we're sort of waking up to, like, what are those? What are those healthy habits that we can be talking to our kids about? Not saying that technology and media systems and these things don't exist, but it's a bit of an internal, you have to create the internal machinery. I love this phrase. Like, you have to create this internal machinery to be able to navigate this. And young people, yes, their brains don't have that ability yet. So we really need to do as much as we can to teach them about it.
So what is, if you had, of course, I'm sure you could talk about this all day, but one thing that parents can do to support this within their children?
Sure. So, I wrote a book called The Take Back: How Do We Reclaim Our Lives from Big Media and Tech? And it's very, like, user friendly. I've got an essay that describes my journey as a parent in here. I've got essays from really incredible media literacy experts who are talking about this issue. I've got a whole how-to guide for parents, like how to assess when your child is ready or you are ready, because it's a dual approach. You and your child need to be ready for these things, and how you're going to create conversations around this, how you're going to create boundaries, strategies, structure, what is okay, what's not okay, what's out there. Like, there's so much out there. So much out there. There's a section for students, like, a student could read this. I've had fifth grade or third graders read the book, and then they were like, okay. Like, they're able to assess and audit their own self. And then we have a section in the back, which is like how to create what we're calling media labs, which go into schools. And what's sort of great about, we design peer-to-peer learning around this, because at a certain point, the parent is not going to be the major influence in their
Yeah,
child
they're
life.
not the lighthouse.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Their friends are. So
Yeah.
how
I have
do
a
we
13-year-old, so yeah, I'm starting to see that.
yeah. So how do we create group dynamics, peer-to-peer learning on this subject in schools? Because school's a great place. It's where young people are. It's where they're learning new things. And so we designed this program called the Media Lab, where we train young people to understand how the attention economy works, how to decipher fake news, what is AI, how does AI contribute to media and our media systems and technology, what are bad actors and how do bad actors behave online, and how do you distinguish them, what is grooming, like we're talking about really. And then we're also inviting them to tell us their experience, like what have you been online bullied, do you ever feel like you're having comparison with yourself and others online, and what does that feel like, do you feel like your sleep's getting robbed from you? Like, are you up all night playing video games? Are you up all night scrolling? Do you know what your dopamine hit is? Do you know if it's a cortisol hit? Do you know if it's an oxytocin thing? Like we're getting them to audit their own experience. And then they're also auditing their family experience. Like when you go home at night, is there no phones at the dinner table? Does your family ever have an outing where everyone's phones put away and they're just together? How often are you like, how long can you go without being on your device? Like getting them to really take ownership of their own experience and recognizing how it feels to them, like you can feel so crummy, right? If you're just sitting there scrolling and looking at people and comparing your life to so-and-so's vacation and so-and-so, how so-and-so looks. And you may not notice it because it's such a subconscious back of the head experience. But when you bring it forward, you can then have agency. Maybe I shouldn't follow this person anymore.
Yeah.
Maybe I should, or I've been up chatting or on this game. Maybe I should put the game down and go to sleep.
Yeah. I
You know,
can't tell you how many times I've had to, well, I can't tell you how many video game remotes we've had to replace or desks that got slammed, but how many times I've had to say to each of my kids, like, if it is making you so angry to be
yes,
playing this video game, why are you doing it? Walk away. Because the rage that
yeah.
comes up sometimes, and maybe boys are different than girls. I don't know. I have two boys, but I would say, like, you're playing a game. A game is supposed to be fun. If you're so angry that you're wanting to slam the remote or slam the
Yeah,
desk or yell at these other people, like, stop,
I
walk
know.
away.
It's so funny. There was so much issues in the first. People started recognizing this as an issue. They all recognize this as a girl problem because of a social media thing. And I think what we're all waking up to is like, wait a minute, like we missed something big here. Like boys are really suffering, really, really, really suffering when it comes to this stuff because missing fundamental risk taking in real life skills, because everything can be so easily fed to them. And it's like instant gratification in so many ways. Like they're getting their wins online. And then as they get older, there's the online gambling, there's the pornography, there's, obviously the games, like they're getting all their wins in this virtual space and they're not actually creating and forming real human connect, which especially for young men is really needed. They need that tribe. They need to go off and win. They need to ask the person out. They need to have courage and everything's being handed to them a little bit too easily. And that's the goal of technology, right? Technology, our ask of technologies make our lives easier.
Yeah.
And what we're
Give me what I
missing,
want now. Yeah.
yeah. And when we do that, when our lives become so easy, we lose learning because the jump from I don't know to know is so fast now that synapses, that actual learning that's supposed to take place is gone. We actually
We
not learn.
learn from doing it wrong and making mistakes
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
figuring it out. And
Yes. And failing.
if it's
And
just figured out for you, you never actually learn how to do it.
so we're really there's a real detriment to all this being fed to us so fast and easy. I don't know if I'm going to go off on a bit of a tangent. You can cut this out if you want, but have you heard of the movie that just came out, Manosphere
Yes, I
on
read an
Netflix?
article yesterday about it. And having two adolescent/teenage boys,
That was a horror film.
I don't know that I can watch it because it is
You have to watch it, I think.
okay.
I think it's important because I think what you'll see is the effects that media, technology, gamifying everything can have on young men without a rudder, right? Without,
I haven't heard about it, but hearing you talk about it, like, I feel this, like, pit in my
yeah,
stomach and, like, flutter in my chest. As you've been talking, I've been thinking, like, yeah, this as parent of older kids, I've been thinking like, yeah, this all sounds great. And I'm really happy for all the parents who are listening who have young kids and can do this now. But like, I didn't know this when my kids were introduced to it. And I had kids who were COVID kids and who didn't get to be in school and they actually couldn't go out and play. And the only socialization they had was online. And like, I want to cry at the moment because they're wonderful kids and they're doing great. And also,
And they're
I
very
can see the
social.
areas where it's had an impact on them.
It's never too late. I think that's one of the best parts of my book is like,
Thank
there's no
you. I needed
shame.
you to say that.
There's no shame in the game. You know what I mean? Like there's no shame in, like, there should be no shame, right? Because we're all learning together and literally every single day. And I've been studying this for a while. I'm messing up and I start over. You start over, you learn more, you communicate what you're learning. I think what's so beautiful about this peer-to-peer idea is that as soon as you start teaching it to other people or you start having conversations about it, you internalize the material deeper and then you're able to actually shift your own habits. And I think that we are awakening as a culture and it's never too late. And honestly, I would almost argue that your sons are in a better position than you right now. Do you know what I mean? Because
Probably.
it has yes, it's been a part of their development, but they're still developing and they can make new choices. And I think we're going to see hopefully a generation of young people that are going to start to make new and different choices and I know that I'm starting to make different choices around that easement. It's literally is going to take a revolution though. It's going to cuz it's so hard, it's so powerful, it's so addictive,
Yeah.
it's so easy.
Yeah. I mean, in New York State, I feel like maybe we're beginning that. This year became the rule that there's no cells in school from class from bell to bell or from the beginning of the day to end of the
Yeah.
day. And I've heard some schools are really enforcing it. Some schools are not as much enforcing it. But my youngest is a junior and they're allowed to leave school for lunch. And even during, like, the coldest days, I'd be like, "Stay inside." He's like, "Well, I can't have my phone at lunch then. Like, I have to leave school in order to have access to my phone for that, like, an hour." I'm like, "It's 10 degrees out." He's like, "It's fine."
Yeah. I mean, I would look at that and say maybe there's something there, right? You know, but I also feel like could you go a whole a day without your phone?
I mean,
Like and these are just questions we all need to ask ourselves, you know. And I know it's yeah, New York State's doing, you know, a lot of states are doing this. They're seeing the effects. I mean, there's a whole new revolution right now on, you know, computers in the classroom, right? And young people skipping class by being in class. And you know, I work in New York City public schools and you know, like the computer is a real distractor, right? And you have to wonder, is the US failing in our schools because of this? And you see Scandinavian countries that are saying, okay, we're taking the ed tech out. And, you know, when you have a giant school system that requires data to analyze like how achievements being done and you've moved everything over in the last 15 years to one computers and you know kids are using them all the time and we're assessing off them and teachers are using them and they're trying to you know and it's become so ingratiated into their curriculum saying to them all of a sudden, hey guys, we actually don't think ed tech is a great idea. Do you think the teachers union is going to say okay?
I mean, forget the teachers union. How about the companies that are either making lots of money on those computers or
Right.
the places that
Yeah.
spent so
Yeah.
much money getting
how
those
many
computers?
Chromebooks are out in the
I mean, it's Google, you know, they did a great job, right? They've done a really good job of creating this environment that is, you know, been branded as this is going to be good for us. This is going to help make America that, you know, achieve more in the schools and do better. I think we're learning and I think we're going to learn this more and more is that, you know, what's going to make a human valuable in the world is our creative, cognitive, critical thinking, and not so much the ability to be able to use technology because technology is going to become so easy. It's going to be so easy, commodify everything. So it's like, what are the things that are going to make human beings important?
yeah, original opinion might be really valued. And not only opinion, but like perspective.
Yeah, yeah. And I just, I think we're in a really interesting time. I wish I had more answers for how to navigate it outside of just really creating a strong balance. And, parenting is hard. It's really easy to hand an iPad over to a 2-year old that's driving you crazy, or to a 6-year old that just wants to watch something like, and then you could go do something. You could go do your emails. You could go do your work. We're asking so much of parents right now
And
that
imagine like single moms. It's like they're surviving, you know?
with a lot of families where there's a low SES, socioeconomic what is it?
Status.
Status, yeah.
Status. And a lot of these families, they're working all the time. Oh, they work at night, they work during the day. Like, so these kids, and they don't want their kids to go outside because they believe the neighborhood to be dangerous. And so what do these kids end up doing? And I work with so many students in South Bronx and in Brooklyn and all these places, and a lot of them are, 16, and they're taking care of their siblings at home until their parents get home. And they're like, well, miss, what am I supposed to do? I have to get my homework done. And so it's become a digital babysitter and a crutch. And this is the ease of vacation. It's so easy, right?
And it's not, I think it's important to say, like, it's not just people of lower
No, it's
socioeconomic status.
everybody.
There are
No.
people of quite high
I,
socioeconomic status. Technology has made it so easy for us to work harder and faster and more, that even not out of need financially, but just need to keep the machine moving, parents are working all of the time, all day long, no boundaries. Things are expected of them. And it is survival sometimes that you need an hour to take a shower, or to prepare dinner, or to be in a meeting that you're required to be in when your kids are around.
this is this is real. This is a real thing.
Yeah. And it affects everybody, no matter what age your kids are, your socioeconomic
No,
status, whether you have a partner or not a partner, if you're working from home, working outside of the home, like it's everywhere. It's inescapable.
I think educating yourselves, educating your family, being mindful, I think the hardest thing is leading by example the best you can. And that's kind of where you know,
We work with the parents a lot, and it's so great that you are teaching this in schools, but there needs to be like a companion manual for the parents, because the kids might know it, but then if they're going home and the parents are like, "What are you talking about? Oxytocin and dopamine." Like, we don't know what that is. Like,
well, the goal is that they teach their parents, right? Like, there was a time, there's every generation, they have to learn from the young people. Like, you look at the 60s, they came home, the dinner table at that time was very different. So this goal is that, hopefully these young people are, they had their assignment is to go teach 5 people they know what they learn. And that's part of it.
Our podcast is what no mom told you. And when you think about before you started this initiative, before maybe even were a parent, what was something once you became a parent, once you started this, that you know now that you didn't know then? You had to learn the hard way.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been an evolution, right? Because as more I've learned, the more I apply to my life. So my daughter was COVID, she was 9 months when COVID happened. She watched YouTube all the time. And I started to notice, oh, she's not speaking so much, or she's, having meltdowns. And I was like, "Oh, this is bad. But then I was like, she's just seeing me on my phone all the time, or she's just seeing me on the computer all the time, or like my phone and my computer have become more important. Like, in her mind, this gets my attention. She doesn't. I was seeing, because she was like, I want your phone. I want your phone. I'm like, why does she want this thing so bad? I'm like, oh, because this is the thing that gets mommy's attention, right? This is, and so that must be really important. That must be really something would want to have. So once I recognize that, like, here I am, and it's hard work. It's hard work to be present with your kids and play games on the floor and make dinner together and have no screens at dinner time and have no screens until, we have our set 30 minutes at the end of the day, where I do my emails and let them watch TV. It's not like we're not a no screen experience. But and we talk a lot about she's not going to get a smartphone for a very long time. And I've galvanized our community to be like, okay, guys, so when they want to start communicating with each other, let's get a landline so they can talk to
It
each
is shifting.
Yeah.
Mike's kids, tweens and teen, and they don't have social media. They have talk and text, you know.
Yeah.
Our friend's kid, who is 8, called me from her landline the other
Yeah.
day.
I think landlines are great. I think there's flip phones. There's all these other ways that you don't
Bring
have to
back the
do that.
landline.
Their landline, the flip phone, whatever you can do to sort of stay, just make it a phone call and communication in that way. Not a group text. Group text is a whole other can of worms. It's really bad. But yeah, I think the thing that no one told me was like how much me being an example to my kids and what them seeing my behavior was
Yeah.
going to be such a big part of being a parent. And just like waking my husband up to that, waking myself up to that, that like if we're gonna tell them certain things, we need to model it too. And it's
The
hard.
kids are watching.
Hmm?
The kids are watching.
They watch everything. They know everything. Like they know when mommy and daddy are in a fight. They know, like, so I think I think that was the thing that no one told me, that I would have to really kind of practice what I preach and have integrity around my word. And if I'm on my phone all the time and I'm telling them not to be on TV all the time, then that's like, it's contradicting itself, right?
And it's hard.
It's very hard,
It's
especially I'm an
hard.
entrepreneur, right? So like if someone's calling me and like it's a client, I got to answer. And so it's like I have to be like, okay, mommy is her client's calling her right now, or the school's calling her right now, or whatever. And I'm going to step away. Like I give myself that, like I have to step away so that they don't like they're not seeing mommy constantly on the computer or on the phone, and that it's more important than them.
Megan, if someone wants to get your book, where can they find it?
Sure. Go to the takeback.com, TheTakeback.com, and you can buy the book. You can buy it singularly or you can do a bundle, and the bundle comes with a jumpstart guide, and that you could bring into your school, community, your families. It comes with a jumpstart guide and 30 books. So you guys can have like a whole book club situation. You can start one in your own school.
Like a
It literally gives you
PTA could create like a
Yeah,
bundle.
it gives
Yeah.
you a step-by-step guide on how to bring it into your school. It's super easy. Yeah, it's fun. And it's really the kids love it. They kick and scream a little in the beginning, but then at the end they are so excited to go and teach this material.
Yeah. They want to know stuff that other people don't.
Yeah. This is great. I'm really hopeful for our futures. Thank you for doing this, and
Thank
thank you
you.
for being here with us today.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you for having me, and thank you to Julie who introduced
I
us. And
know. I know.
she's the best.
Thanks for spending this time with us. If you found yourself nodding along or saying, same, that's kind of the point.
We hope you leave today feeling a little less alone. This is what no mom told you. And yeah, there's more where that came from.